This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so yesterday we are discussing about the memory statements and some of the Apex standards and all those kind of things. Okay, at high level, just understand the purpose of the memory statement is to hold the data, whatever the data we provide as in after applying some logic, whatever the output data is there. To hold that data, we need some memory. That memory we can allocate using these memory statements. So we have the concept of data type. Based on the data what we deal, we can decide how much memory we want to allocate. Okay, so these are the data types, and already we executed these things and understood few things yesterday how we can work. Okay, we have to follow the naming conventions and we have to follow the indentation and all those things. Okay, so to play with this, okay, so once you log into Salesforce, we need to open the developer console. So here you can open this debug, open, execute anonymous window. You can write our logic and we can execute and see the results. Okay, so before we deal with the other types of statements, so far whatever we discussed, so I have listed data types and we defined the memory statements, and also we technically call these as variables and keywords. Those things we understood yesterday. And also now so far whatever I have listed these data types, so these are the primitive data types. Okay, so what is this primitive data type? I'll explain. Okay, so the thing is we also have non-primitive data types. Okay, so when we say it is primitive, when we say it is non-primitive, I'll explain. Okay, non-primitive data types. Okay, so primitive data types means call by value. What is the meaning of call by value? So whenever we allocate the memory, right, by using a data type, we are allocating memory. Directly in that, we can assign the value, right? Is if I want to assign 30, I can directly assign the value, right? So when you have the capability to assign the value directly, so that we call as primitive data types. Okay, so far whatever we discussed, all those are the primitive data types. Once we allocate the memory, directly we can assign the value. Okay, but non-primitive data types, we cannot assign the value directly. Okay, so technically we say call by reference. What is the meaning? Instead of assigning, okay, once we define a non-primitive memory, right? One of the variable, we cannot directly assign the value, but what we assign the location of the data. Data will be somewhere, data will be in some location in the database. What we do, we assign the address of that data, where that address, where the data is located. So that address we assign. So those kind of types we call as non-primitive data types. Okay, so just let me list out few non-primitive types so that you will understand. Okay, if you see, as part of the administration, we discussed about the standard objects, right? Standard object is a database table, standard database table provided by Salesforce. So we can also create the custom object as per the custom requirements, right? So the thing is, any standard object or the custom object, we can consider we can define the variable for those types, and we say those types are non-primitive data types. Okay, for example, let's take contact, right? One of the standard object. So we store the person information in the contact. Okay, so maybe let me say we have standard and the custom object. So those are the examples of the non-primitive types. Okay, I'm defining a contact, right? Contact is one of the database table, right? Standard object, the database table from Salesforce. Okay, so I can define a variable for this. Let's say I'm saying contact one, semicolon, right? So now in this contact, right? When you say contact table, it is like a one row in the table. When I say contact some variable name, whatever you feel, in this we can store one row information, one row in the contact table. But in one row, right? When you open a contact, right? All these are the records, right? So one row, second row, third row. In one row again there are multiple columns. This value, this value, this value. We have to enter all those values, right? So multiple cell values we need to enter. How can I enter? First name, last name. Can I enter into one thing? Okay, we cannot directly assign. Okay, so what we'll do, since we cannot, because it is like combination of multiple values together as one row, we need to assign. Okay, so for non-primitive types, what we do, so we allocate the empty reference location. We create a memory, but that memory location will assign. Okay, how we do to allocate the memory? So we use new operator, new, right? Whatever the object name is there, that one, like this. When you do like that, what we are doing, so we are creating a memory space to store one contact record information. But that here, what it is assigning here, that where this memory address is there, that will be assigned here. Into this, you will see the location reference to that memory. Okay, so only the difference is for primitive data types, we don't create any new memory, new operator, and we don't create like this. Directly we can assign. But for non-primitive, so we have to use new operator and allocate memory. And on top of that, we can add multiple values. So how to give multiple values? Now this is the reference where this memory is located, right? So we'll say dot. So which column value you want to give? Let's say I want to give the first name, last name. Those are some of the fields. So if you don't know what you can do, so already we are in the contact area. Okay. The shortcut is you can click on this gear icon, click on edit object. So since already we are in the contact page, click on edit object. You see the contact fields and relationships. Here, contact object. Okay, go to fields and relationships, and so I want name, right? Search for name. So maybe on the UI you are seeing only name, right? But internally, so we need to enter. So here maybe you are seeing name, but internally it is combination of multiple fields. Okay, it holds the first name, last name, and those kind of things. So maybe here in the lightning, okay, so here if you see name, under that first name, last name, so all this separately we need to give. So this is like a read only, we cannot directly enter value into that. Okay, so first name, this is the right field API name, field name. So just I'm going here and saying first name. Okay, assign some name here. Okay, um, last name, last name, last name. This is the field API name, like this, right? So keep on the other columns. Whatever is required, we can populate. So this is one of the example of the non-primitive data type. In the same way for custom object, when we create custom object, I'll explain. Okay, so that's about that part. Apart from that, um, so we also have a generic type. Sometimes we don't know the record whatever uh, we are creating that belongs to contact or account or opportunity or some other custom object. We don't know. Maybe based on runtime, based on some data provided in the website, the web, the form. So we need to dynamically decide what object we need to use to save the information. In those situations, to represent the record in a generic way, okay, instead of associating that record to a specific table, we use S object, okay, one of the generic type, okay. So this is generic to hold any object information, hold any object information. Object means table. Okay, I mean, what is the difference between object and S object? S object only holds the standard or custom object information in a generic way. It cannot hold boolean or integer or some other type. Okay, this is for primitive types to maintain information in a generic way. S object is to hold the object record, standard or custom object record in a generic way. Okay, so just understand that. Okay, and apart from this S object, right? So we also have Apex class. Okay, so we have upcoming topic. We discuss about class methods and other things. So going forward, we create Apex classes. Okay, Apex class also inside class it holds multiple variables, maybe string, integer, and different types, right? So we also create the Apex class as a variable and hold some information. Okay, I think you can understand more when we create the Apex class that time. Okay, for now, just understand these are the categories you see under non-primitive types. So this one, if you don't understand, it's fine. Slowly you'll understand based on the upcoming topics. Okay, so that's about this memory statement. So let's deal with the other types of statements. Let's understand. So what is that arithmetic and the logical statement? So any questions you can ask so far. If you have any questions, you can ask. Okay. So now these arithmetic statements. So mainly we use these to perform the calculations, comparisons, and those kind of things. Okay. So here we have, as part of this, we have different types of operators. I'll be explaining each and every type. Okay. The first one, what I want to explain. So the first one, assignment operator. Okay. So what is that assignment operator? Why we use? So let's understand. That is nothing but equal. Okay. Whenever you want to assign some value, that time we use the assignment operator. Well, sorry. So if you see, already we have few examples, right? So let's say I'm saying integer quantity is one of the variable I'm defining. So I want to assign 100. What we do equal to 100. So it is going to assign 100 value into this quantity variable into that memory, right? So that's the assignment operator. It's simple, right? So right hand side value it will assign to left hand side. So that we know. The next one, uh, so we have arithmetic operators, right? So to perform the calculations, addition, subtraction, multiplication, to perform those kind of things, we have arithmetic operators. Okay, so those are like red plus, minus for subtraction, star for multiplication, slash for division. We use these kind of things. Okay, so let's deal with this. Some examples, and here again we have different categories. Okay, so we have concept called unary operator, binary operator, ternary operator. So let's understand those. Unary, binary, when we say binary, when we say ternary, so we'll understand. Okay, unary operator, one of the example. Simply, if you want to, while especially while dealing with the count and those kind of situations, so that time we try to use these unary operators. Okay, so one of the example, let's say I'm defining integer I equal to 0, right? So now I want to increment I value by 1 and assign that updated value. In general, what we do, we say I. So we know current value of the I is 0 plus 1. The total value will be 1. And I will be assigning, I want to assign that to again I. You know what it will do? 0 plus 1, 1, and it will assign 1 here. Instead of writing like this, so we have a short form. Okay, so we have I plus plus. Okay, when we use, right, it's like I is one variable, plus plus is one operator. So what plus plus will do? It will add 1. Whatever the existing value is there, for that it will add 1. If I value is 10, it will add 1. Right? One more time if it execute, again it will add 1 more. Right? 10, 12, 11, 12, 13, like that. Whenever it execute, it keep on increment 1 value. Okay, in the same way, if you want to decrement, I minus minus. Okay? Use I minus minus. Like that. So just understand that. So this is the example of the unary operator. Okay, so in the programs, it's very common we use this I plus plus, I minus minus, these kind of things. Okay, so that's about the unary. So binary operator means, so always we deal with multiple values. Okay, so for example, I want to add two numbers. Let's say integer. We have number 100, number 2. Okay, so let's say it's 300, and I'm just defining result variable. Now I want the addition of the number 1, number 2, right? So what we'll do, say number 1 plus number 2, right? So even if you give like this, or let's say I have one more, and it is having number 10. Again, I can keep on say plus number. This is also binary. Okay, even though we have a huge expression, what happens? System can only take two values at a time. Internally, what it will do? It will add these two, right? 10 plus 10, 20. Now this 20 again it will add plus, so into this. Okay, maybe in this example 100 plus 300. Okay, the result again it will add to this 10. It's like that. Okay, so maybe it can be like this, also like this, right? Now what is the result? 100 plus 300, 400 minus 10, 390. But it's not guaranteed. Will it first add these two and subtract? Or what will happen if number 2, so let's say number 2, 300 minus 10, so 290 plus 100. Anyway, we get the same result, right? Same result we get. So yeah, execute and see. So we have this here, right? So execute and see so that understand how it is working. Standard debug, result, execute, can debug only if you see, right? 390. It's working, right? So, but if I give this, right, what would be the result? So now 100 plus 300, how much? 400. 400 multiplied by 10, it's like 4000. But let's say if it is calculating this one first and later that one, so now 300 multiplied by 10, 3000. 3000 plus 100, 3100. The result is 3100 or 4000. What is the result? Let's execute and see. 3100, right? So that means what it is doing, first it's multiplying this one, 300 multiplied by 10, 3000 plus 100, 3100. So how we know that it execute this one first and after that one? So there is like a precedence, operator precedence. So we have to open the documentation and read it and understand. So what is the operator precedence in Apex language? Okay, if you search in Google, you will get the book, Apex programming book. Okay, it will be thousands of pages. Practically no one read that. Okay, so yeah, but even I don't want to remember that operator precedence, right? So always because we do many things and we cannot remember everything. Okay, so but all I want is, I don't want 3100. First I want these two to be added and after that multiply, so that I want the result as 4000. So as a developer, okay, if you are not clear about which execute first, which execute later, so what we do like this. Within the bracket, if you do, it do the calculation within the bracket, whatever is there, it do separately calculation, this one. And after that, that result multiplied by this one. So now if you see, okay, always use those brackets, that way will be very clear what we want. Okay, so that's about this binary operators and example. So any questions on this? The next one, ternary operator. Okay, we have ternary operator. So here, at a time, it deals with the two values and three operator. Ternary means three. Okay, so when exactly we use this? So mostly when you have a when you want to keep some condition and execute a statement, one statement based on that condition, that time we go with the ternary operator. It will be like condition. If that condition is true, we keep some statement here that it execute. If it's false, it execute that like that. Okay, and finally this result you can assign to something else. Okay, maybe above example only. Number one is greater than number two. I'm just checking a condition. Is number 100 greater than number two 300? Question mark. Is it true? No, right? True means it will execute whatever I keep. Okay, maybe here what I am doing. If number one is greater than number two, okay, so I'm assigning number one value. Okay. Otherwise, let's say this one. So let's say it's not correct. We know that 100 greater than 300. No, wrong. Colon. Else situation here we give whatever we want. Right? Like that. Now the result would be number two value. Right? 300. Because it won't enter here. It will enter here only if it is true. Okay, maybe execute and see. Go back. System.debug. Maybe I'm keeping here so that it's the unexpected token. Okay. So execute. Okay, in that debug, right? If you see here, you are seeing 300. Okay, so because this it is entering here. Sorry, it's entering here because the condition is failing. Okay, if I reverse it, 100 less than 300 is now number one. It returns right. 100 we will see the result. Right in the second debug, 100. Okay, like that. Okay, so just understand. So when you have a condition and based on the condition, if you want to execute one statement, so that time we go with the ternary operator. This one here. So yeah, the next one. So I want to now explain about the relational operators, or maybe before to that we have arithmetic assignment operator. Okay, let me explain arithmetic assignment operator. Okay, what is the example for this? So for example, right, in the maybe above one only, number one, number two, number three we have. So all I want for number one, I want to add one more 100. Okay, so what we do for that? Number one is equal to number one plus I want to add 100 and I'm assigning, right? This is how we write. So we have some short statements. Okay, even if you don't want to use, other people if they use, we should understand for that purpose. How we can write that one? So number one plus equal to 100. Okay, I'm combining the arithmetic operator and assignment operator. Right? The meaning of this one is number one is equal to number one plus 100. That's the meaning. Okay, instead of that, we write like this, the short form. In place of plus, you can also use minus, star, slash, whatever you want. Okay, just this is the arithmetic assignment operator. Okay, we see these kind of statements in some programs. So if you know, it is good. Okay, the next thing, how relational operators. Relational operators. Okay, so here we have less than, greater than, less than, equal to, greater than, equal to. But we have equal to comparison. We have not equal to comparison. Not equal to, we can also write like this. Both are same. Okay. So these are the some of the relational operators. We use relational operators for comparison. If you want to compare, and after comparing, the result would be either true or false. Right? When you compare, ultimately what we get is yes or no, true or false. That's it. Okay. So let's say if I say number one is greater than number two, it compares, and it returns is number one greater than number two. If it is true, it will return true. If it is false, it returns false, like that. Right? So in those situations, we use relational operators, right? Comparisons, number one, number two. Or I can say number one is equal to number two. Okay? So it compares. So what is the difference between single equal and double equal to? Single equal to we use for the assignment. So right hand side value it will assign to left hand side. Double equal to we use for the comparison. Compare, both are same, it returns true. Both are not same, it returns false. Okay, so just understand that one. Okay, so that's about the relational operator. The next one we have logical operators. Logical operators. So we have and, or, not. So these are the logical operators, right? And, or, not. So these operators. Okay. So but in Apex programming, and means we use like this, two end symbols. So R, to represent R in Apex, we use two pipe symbols. So that is R. To represent not, so we use this exclamatory symbol, like that. Okay. So why we use logical operators? To combine multiple conditions into one condition. Okay. So for example, so I'm checking one condition, right? Number one greater than number two. I want number one should be greater than number two. And also I want to make sure that that number one should be greater than 0. It should not be 0. It should not be equal to 0, or it should be greater than 0, right? So number one greater than 0. But I want these two conditions should be true. You want both should be true, or any one is true is fine. However you want. It's all based on the requirement. If you want both should be true, we separate using and. That way both expressions should be true, then only the final result will become true. Okay, we have true false conditions, right? If the number 1 is greater than number 2, or if number 1 is greater than 0, if any one condition meets, I want true. That time we go with R. Okay, so not means reverse. Okay, if it is true, it will make that one as false. If it is false, it will make that one as true. So that time we go with not. Okay, so these are the logical operators. We use logical operators to combine multiple conditions. Yeah, this is very basic thing, right? In that only maybe we say this one, again we will say R number 3 greater than 100, something like that. We can combine multiple expressions. Okay, to understand these operators easily, right? So how the AND works, how R works, how not works. So we just deal with some simple table mostly, so that we'll understand. Okay, so maybe what I'll do here, only I'm just adding one sheet. Okay, uh, assume that here A is one condition, B is one condition, right? If A condition value is true, B condition value is false, something like that, right? So that time we'll say A and B, right? So that means A value should be true and also B value should be true. Both are true, then only the result will be true. I'll show you how it works. So in case A condition and B condition, if you use R, how it works. If you use not, how it works. Okay, here, so what we are doing to get all the possible combinations. So here I am saying true, true, and false. Hello, are you able to hear me?
Yes.
So now, if you see here, yeah, true, true, false, false. I'm giving some different combinations. Here, true, false, true, and false, like this. If both are true, if A is true and B is true, if both are true, the finally, okay. So since both are true, it will be true. So when you separate with AND, right, if any one of the condition is not true, okay, if you see here, A is true, B is not true, AND means both should be true, right? The final result will be false. Same way, right? One value is false, other value true. The final result become false. In the same way, two false values and the final result becomes false. Okay, like that. Okay, just understand. And also R means if any one of the condition is true, the final result will be true. So only if all the whatever you are combining, if these are both are false, then only it becomes false. If any one of that is true, it will be true, right? It will be like this is true, here true, false. At least one is true, will be true, right? Only if both are false, that time it becomes false. So that is R. Okay. Not means reverse. Okay, if it is true, not of true is false, right? Same way here, true means false. Here, false means true, like that. Just, I mean, reference this starting stage so that, right? So this is a basic thing. We'll be having complex expressions, but if you know this basic, those things easily we can deal. Okay, so just understand this. Okay, so that's about the logical operator. Okay, we are done with these operators. So the next one we deal with the conditional statements. Okay, before we start that one, so any questions so far, anyone? Are you able to follow or any confusion? If you are not able to follow, just let me know. Okay, the next one is conditional statements. The purpose of the conditional statement is, so when we write some logic, right? When you have some set of statements, some statements I want to execute only conditionally. Only if a particular condition meets, that time I want to execute. If that condition is not meeting, then I don't want to execute. Okay, so if you have those kind of requirement, so that time we use these conditional statements. Okay, so one of the easiest, the basic condition is using if. Okay, so if we also have switch when in Apex. Okay, if you don't know also, it is okay. We can manage everything with if. Okay, let's focus on if. The other thing slowly we can learn in future. Okay, so again, if we have different flavors of the if conditions. Okay, so the first one is simple if. It's simple if condition block we keep. Let's say I'm keeping one condition, and this flower brackets is for the set of statements. So when you have multiple statements keep in one place, so we use this brackets and inside that. Okay, if this condition meets, I am saying number one is greater than 100, that time it should enter, execute whatever the statements we write, those statements it execute, right? I'm just saying statements, but it's whatever we keep that logic it execute. Okay, so that is a simple if condition. Okay, so we have one more type called if else. Okay, if else one more condition, right? So if we have, let's say number one is greater than 100, maybe you can also practically execute and understand, right? That way maybe you get more interest. Let me, so here all I am doing, so if condition, so if, okay, so number one is greater than 50, it should enter inside, and let's say I'm printing system.debug inside if condition. Okay, execute. Debug, right, inside if condition. Okay, just understand. So in case if this condition is not meeting, right, it won't enter inside, it won't execute anything inside. This time if I execute, if you see, you don't see anything printing, that means it is not entered inside. So that is simple if. So same thing, this is simple if. So the other flavor, if else. So when we say if else, if this condition is not meeting, I know that this condition is not meeting, that time what are the other set of statements you want to execute, that we keep in else. Okay, here system.debug Here I am saying inside else condition, inside else. Okay. So now, if this part, if I am executing, right? Anyway, let it execute. We'll see it enter here. I'm executing. Click on debug only. If you see inside else, so that's what you were seeing inside else. Okay. So just understand that one. So that is if else. Okay. The other thing, if you want to check multiple set of conditions, so that time we have else if. Okay. Let me take one example. Maybe let me copy and paste the same thing. Number one greater than 500. We know that no, it's 100, right? So here I am taking else if I'm saying, that means one more condition we are checking. Okay, so is the number one is greater than 10, right? Inside else if. So greater than 10, that condition. Just for our printing purpose. Okay, what it will do? It will check if this condition meets. Okay, when we use this else if, like this, keep on, you can add multiple, right? Is number one is greater than 5, is greater than 5, right? So now my question, right? What do you think would be the result? You see, it will print. So this, it will fail, it will come here. Yeah, number one is 100, 100 greater than 10. Yes, it will print it. But again here, 100 greater than 5. Do you think it will also print this one? So anyone, what do you think? It print both, since both conditions are meeting. Okay, that's the confusion part when we start newly. Okay, when we deal with the else if, just understand, out of all these things, any one block it execute. Okay, if this is satisfied, it will enter inside and it will ignore the remaining. Only if this fails, it will come here. If this fails, only that time it will go here. None of the things are meeting, then only it will go here. Any one of the block it execute, not everything. Whichever is condition meets first, that one it will enter, and the remaining things it will ignore. Okay, let me execute so that you'll understand. Okay, debug only. If you see, it is only entered inside else if greater than 100, right? Only that one. Sorry, greater than 10. So greater than 5, into that it is not entering. Okay. So, but I want, if whatever the number of conditions it is meeting, I want that to enter inside the all those things. So that we need to use if series. Okay. So that time we should not use else. Okay. So all if conditions, one after other, if you keep. Now, if all three conditions are meeting, it execute all these three. Right. Out of this, if only one it is meeting, only one it execute. It's like that. Okay. So maybe for us to avoid confusion, I am commenting the above things so that we'll avoid printing this. Okay. Let this, if you execute, okay, if you see both are meeting, both it is executing, that time we need to use if series. So it's all based on the requirement. We need to decide So which one we can use? Okay, the next one is nested if. That means inside one if condition, we can keep one more possible, right? Let's say inside this, again inside this, I can keep this one, and inside that I can keep one more. Right? So if this is executed, right? So let me comment this. So if this is executed, what would be printed? Number one is 100, right? Here itself it is failing. It cannot enter inside. It cannot do anything. So nothing will be printed. Okay, let me change this one to greater than 0. Yes. Enter here, print it. So again, number one greater than 10. Yes. Greater than 5. Yes. It will print everything. Okay, that is the example of the nested if. Okay, it's printed. So now let me copy this. I'm keeping here. These are the different flavors. So just to understand. Okay. So yeah, we have switch when. That type I am not explaining now. Okay. Now what we need for sure, we'll learn that. Okay. So the next type of statements, the looping, controlling these statements. We don't have more time. So these things, okay, we'll discuss tomorrow. The other things we'll discuss tomorrow, and we start with the next topic, OOPS concepts, object oriented programming concepts. Okay. So this notes, getting here, that link is here in the references. If you have confusion, just ping me in WhatsApp, I'll share. Okay. So any questions before ending today? Okay.
Yeah, I have one question.
Yeah.
Yeah, this Apex language is very near to Java or JavaScript, so I can start as I asked you
So we use
yesterday.
JavaScript also.
Uh,
Okay. But JavaScript is a scripting client-side language within the browser. Okay. For the UI development. Okay. JavaScript is different. Java is different. Okay. Apex
okay,
is like Java, but you don't need to learn Java and .NET, right? So
no.
follow what I am explaining. That is my suggestion. Okay.
Mhm.
If you learn Java, again, if you come back here, it will be confusing. Since if you don't know, it's better start directly with Apex and learn it. Okay.
Okay,
Because slightly few things are different. Right? In Java, it is case sensitive. Here, case insensitive. There you see many things importing and many things are there. Here, that is not here. Okay, I mean, anyway, if you don't know the language, directly start with Apex and continue learning this one. That way you can learn better.
and
Don't
after
again
learning,
learn Java and come back.
yeah, maybe after learning Apex also, it will help me to learn Java and
Yeah, for
the other.
sure.
Uh,
Yeah, because Java is more complex than Apex.
okay,
Okay.
okay, thank you.
Yeah. I mean, if at all, if you want to continue with Salesforce, don't try to learn Java and again try to learn Apex. That will be more. That will
Okay.
be hectic. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. In case if you want to refer, so what I suggest, see the basics of JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. That is for the UI development. Okay. W3 Schools website, you can get all those things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so I don't recommend you to learn Java or .NET. So it's more similar to C Sharp.NET. Okay, even Java. If you learn again, it will be hectic. Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll continue tomorrow. Thank you.